Hey, looks like we're doing another video. We're going to get back to the 78 Firebird and do the gear teardown because we never did the build on it for the rear axle. So we're going to get this going, and not sure how far today, if I just do a teardown today, but it's our first sunny day in a while, and it looks like we're going to have a great week here at One Man Garage. Well, I've got the old girl up on jack stands, wheels chucked in the front, some 4x4 log lumber. Probably zip the wheels off with the old Milwaukee, and then I have to listen to the darn cat over there. Wasn't invited to this. Yeah, I'm talking to you. And of course, the sway bar might be a little bit of a pain. I might have to pull that off out of the way. See, this car doesn't have its original 78 342 Posi in it anymore. Safety track Pontiac option. It has an open diff rear from a 74 Firebird under it. And well, we just can't have that. So we have to return her to the glory days of two-wheel peels. And we're going to do the 30 spline axle upgrade from 28 spline at the same time with that new Eaton Yukon style Posi. And either go with a 308 or a 342 ratio. The gears in this are probably, I'm going to guess 273, but could be 256 or 308. So we're going to see when we pull the cover. And probably save that too, because I always end up reusing stuff on other projects. It's one of the greatness attributes of the corporate 8.5 10 bolt. It's a huge amount of interchange, different chassis. And anyway, check in a bit. So using my handy little brass 5-pound sledge handheld hammerhead, I'll do all tool to tap the drums that were nicely painted to reveal old brakes that aren't any good. And oh, surprise, no brakes on this side. Didn't even know. And here I was about to drive it. If I was to throw a drive shaft in it, guess I ought to check that first. Yep, no brakes, literally. That's fine. We have lots of stuff laying around. I might not even have to spend any money. I got brakes for this yellow car with no frame, drum brakes, 9.5-inch GM. So I got lots of spare parts. I got new shoes. So we'll just roll with it. Gonna try some low tech technique, but I think, as always, the wind's gonna blow it down. Seems like every time I try to set the phone on its own weight, there's a crosswind. So here's the side view that probably not gonna get. So this time we're gonna lean it against the brake drum, and the cat's gonna whine, because cats do. Going to use the impact just for a few, or maybe none. That's, I think, just wanted to break loose the ones with this that I could reach. Starting to think that I'm going to use the 6-point socket. Go fetch that. Good to have my tools organized finally. The new toolbox has already proved its worth. Yes. Might just have to use the ratchet on that. So yeah, 10 bolt 8.5 GM uses a 5/16 coarse thread bolt with a 1/2 inch hex head, and the once the axles are pulled, the C-clips, the two little main cap, little differential caps, those are held with a 5/8 hex head, and those will be coming off. That way we can just yank that out, and we'll somewhere in there we'll bust the pinion loose. And I think I might use the extension, work around this sway bar. The old cheap breaker bar ratchet comes in handy. I'm going to leave the top bolt in there loose so we can pry the bottom and let the oil out. I might, let's see if I can use this short socket right here. It seems to have worked. Yeah, my buddies that had this car for a little while, he bought a 74 Firebird. It was cloned to a 77 Trans Am. He is returning it back to an early Firebird look, so he's actually going to 70 to 73 nose, and going to make it look like a road race 70s era 73 looking TA, which, you know, has the small back glass, except it'll have that 74 rubber style back bumper, but it'll be cool. I think I'm getting close to being good. This may not be very much help to anybody for tech, because we're just pulling bolts out, but you know, some people like seeing the beginning of a process. So this video is probably going to be too long and eat up all my memory on my phone, so I might even just delete it and you might not see it. I haven't invested in a new phone yet with some extended capacity. I'm just happy that the sun's out and it's not 30 degrees anymore. That's all I really wanted. Just want to see if I can get in a few days of afternoons of work. If we weight this down, the crosswind is something else. See if we can compensate for the crosswind on this oil when it comes out. Hopefully not on my trusty Milwaukee. It's really the wind out here is just relentless. Year round seems like hardly ever get that sunny, calm day. I'm thinking we'll probably get one maybe tomorrow. It's usually the second day after a cold front or something. Here comes the cat to come interrupt me. Looks like this oil's been changed. Not by me, but I just have to pick that up. I don't want to get this crap everywhere. Gear oil is a little messy. And on a side note, if you're tearing down different rear ends and trying to keep an old set of gears or Posi unit, I was thinking a while back, we usually all have those 5-gallon buckets laying around. I was thinking, well heck, I ought to use some of that used motor oil that I haven't taken in to recycle, or something like this, like gear oil, and just store the gears in a bucket with used oil poured over it. Never have to worry about them rusting when it sits around in storage, because sometimes, you know, you have good intentions and you're saving a good set of gears, and the condensation, you know, in the winter, and ends up rusting the teeth. So shoot, save that dirty motor oil and just submerge it in a bucket and just label the bucket with a marker of what's in it, and then it'll be preserved. Just like parts of our greasy old cars that never got cleaned. At least that oily spot is not rusted out. And I've got oil on my drill, just as I figured it would. We're going to have the gear ratio reveal. Not the same as a gender reveal, don't get me started on that. As fat as that pinion looks, it's either going to be a 273 or a 308. Usually you can find a tooth count marked and I won't have to count. Let's see. Got something right there. Can't quite see it. Maybe I will go get a rag. The glare is something else. I think that's the date code. Ah, 15, I think that's a 1541, which is a 273 ratio if I'm remembering correctly. So that's good. That's actually what I was hoping it'd be, because that actually is a 3 series ratio and worthy of saving, because with a new Posi on a different car, you could use a 273 all the way up through all the 3s and beyond with that same differential. So pretty pleased in the 273 actually, because I already had a set of 308s and I got 342s, and my hand's too dirty to turn the phone off, so I'm gonna go get a towel. See if I can get close enough to see that stamping again. There's your GM part number, followed by the tooth count, 1541, and these actually looks like a 71 stamped behind that, so which maybe this was an older rear end. It didn't come out of that 74 Firebird. Maybe this is a 71 rear end. We'll have to dig up a date code elsewhere and see if we can verify that. It should have been a 74. Alright, we'll sign off. I've got to wash my hands more. Well, the cross bolts were easiest thing to knock off, so lower the sway bar out of the way so the chunk will come out. Already broke loose the 5/16 set screw for the cross pin, but we're not going to yank the C-clips and axles out yet, because we're going to knock off that 1 1/4 nut for the pinion first. Be a little easier to get that broke off with the impact. Then we'll pull this chunkage out. So that'll be next. Well, we'll see how this turns out. Point of view. I've got the impact setting on full death mode. Destroyer of these nuts. I'll close my eyes for protection. Well, that didn't take much, did it? When you have 1,000 foot-pounds of torque available with your Milwaukee. This is still press fit, so when the chunk comes out, we'll just use center punch here with that 5-pound brass sledge on a. Actually, I'll be using a control arm bolt because they're tapered and pointy like a punch, and stick it in that little divot, and then you'll just knock that, and it should separate this and free the gear out. So yeah, there's that. Now we're gonna, hopefully you'll be able to see that. If not, my apologies. Won't be any retakes. .5/8 hex head bolt. These impact settings are for disassembly only. Do not use that for assembly. I don't always use a torque wrench, but I also don't break stuff off. I'm not going to use the impact in death mode. I like to use the big breakover extension and at least just kind of get a good sense for how hard I'm pulling on the bolt. I could go get the torque wrench and look up the torque figures, but whatever. Just careful with disassembly. Not the same rules for reassembly. You'll also notice on this GM 8.5, which most GM 8.5s have what we call these two things we call ears, these little triangular lugs. If you see these, you'll know it's not an 8.2 or a 7.5, and there's many types of 8.2s, so don't get me started on that. Now, if this is truly a 71 rear end, these also first came out in 71 Cutlasses and Regals, and notice this little kick out here on the cap, that goes to the outside. So we always want to keep left and right, when possible, you know, associated with where it came from. I saw some wear on the spider gears look kind of bad. And there's that cat again. Cats, you know, want the attention. Not happening today, though. So, anyway, you'll see the opposite direction. There's the little dealio, and we're going to sit that up there. Sometimes you can just pull this stuff out, depending on the preload. That's pretty tight. So I'm going to shut down the video. I got to crawl under there. I'm going to use a punch and just start driving this out. I might give that a love tap with the, you know, but we also kind of might want to pull the axles first since I was tugging on it. A little ahead of procedure. Would have a hard time pulling that out without it. I'm getting old. It happens. But I did break this loose in advance. This is the one that if the bolts broke off, this is going to suck. Oh, yay! This is a celebration moment. Anytime that comes out intact, that means we don't have to get the angle grinder out and cut this all up to get the dang axles out. We had to on that other rear end. Now we're just gonna push that in, do that, who cares, we'll throw that in there too. Kick that out, push that in, that fell out, ta-da! So, that's right, the axles are out. Isn't that neat? Well, I'm gonna shut her down now. See, it's good to tear this rear end down. Look at this side gear. All the chips and disintegration on some of the teeth. Not sure if that's old rust damage, but man, some one-wheel burnouts and all that that sucker was fixing to go. So that is junk, but it's single track, so it's junk anyway. That's right, all vehicles should have a limited slip, aka Posi truck show, safety track, rear end. If you could get one, get one. Gonna try and tap that pinion and help push the cluster back on the gear set, so once it moves I can grab it before it's all the way out. This is working well, by the way. That is off. Mission accomplished. No matter what, it always seems like the cap will jump off from all the banging. Anyways, we're gonna set that to the side, fetch our cap, knock some of the crap off of it. We'll wash that later. Reassembly time. Here's a big gnarly bad boy. When you get into the highway gears, the tooth count on the pinion goes higher. You know, like a 342 is a 12 tooth pinion, 41 ring, and then a 323 is a I believe it's 1341, and the 308 is 13 tooth with a 40 on the ring. So your 323 and your 308 start with 13 on the pinion. Then you skip 14. This is 15 teeth, 273, 41 tooth ring gear. And then the next gear, the 256, is 16 teeth, and then the 241 is 17 teeth. And those last three all have 41 tooth ring. So the angles are changed on the gears. That's why, you know, they're matched sets. You can't take any 41 tooth pinion to mesh up to make a gear set, obviously. So they get about this big around by the time you get to the 17 tooth 241. They're just humongous, you know. And then if you look at like a 373 or 410, it looks really small. There's less teeth and it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So the highway gears get bigger and bigger and bigger on the pinion, which is why you have a different carrier as you get into the 256. The ring gear has to get thinner and keep moving to the left because the pinion wear pattern area gets wider and wider, so it moves the ring gear flange on the differential to the left more and more and more. So that's why some rear ends have 3 series carriers. It has to do with the offset of the flange for the ring gear. As it's a lower set, lower ratio, higher numerically, the flange will move this way. And then as you get into the highway gears, it moves this way. Some rear ends only have 2 different series, some have 3. You know, these only have 2 actually. So that's why the 273 goes all the way into the 3s, unlike a 12 bolt or some of the other 10 bolt rear ends that have 3 different carriers. So there you go. 15 tooth pinion. So I don't know. I don't think I'm going to pull the ring gear off today. I might not. We'll see. Looks like somebody put a bunch of red sealant in here. Looks like that's been replaced. That's red silicone. It's technically not the right thing to do to seal it, but it looks like it worked. So I'll be cleaning that out and get the dirt daubers that love to ruin all the holes on your engines. They like 3/8 threaded holes, but 5/16 unthreaded holes are good too. So yeah, that's your dirt daubers, Texas. Gotta love it. No, not really. Gotta hate it. So hopefully this has helped some people realize that doing gear stuff ain't that bad. Teardown's easy anyway. You've seen assembly in some of the other videos, but we're gonna do it on this one again too. Later folks, thanks for watching.